talk about textiles yesterday, but I forgot my notebook, so I've forgotten literally everything, so I'll do that one later. Sewing yesterday, we actually made something, not just sewing lines and overlocking random edges. We made a bag, a very cool bag, like a big A3 bag that we could fit all of our design books in and stuff. I made mine out of curtain fabric that I've had in a drawer from IKEA for like several years now. I brought way too much fabric. It was supposed to be like just over like 1.2 meters or something. I was like, oh, I'll just grab this curtain. It was 2 curtains in the bag, and curtains are big. So laying up the fabric took a while. The teacher used like a rotary tool. It was like a blade and a flat edge, and then the flat edge you put under several layers of fabric, and then the rotary blade will just cut through all of them at once. She was very nervous about using it, like had like a chainmail glove and everything. We got our actual teacher, Rosa. We keep having different teachers for sewing class, but this one's apparently our actual teacher, and we've had her finally. She's really nice, really sweet. But we won't have her next week, so we've only had her for 1 week, and then we'll have someone else next week again. Yeah, sewing took all day, but doing like proper things on the bag, like folding in the bottom corners of the bag to create like a base, like a flat base. Overlocking pockets. I put an extra pocket on mine because I want to actually use this stupid bag, so it's not exactly to spec. The whole process, we didn't have instructions. We had to write them out as we went, so we could have like a proper pattern construction sheet. So in textiles, we were looking at knits this week. So I wore my ugliest D&D sweater with like a big beholder on it, which someone on the bus recognized on my way home, and they were like, oh, I'm just going home to play D&D now. I'm like, oh, cool coincidence, have fun. Just sweet. So knits, you know, unlike a weave is like the weft and the warp are laid over top and underneath each other, and like grid patterns and variations of grid patterns. Knits are like looped together, so they're like tied together. You know, like if you're doing needle knitting, you're tying a lot of loops together. I think that method is called crochet. I haven't actually knitted before, so I don't know. Knitting industrially can be done way faster on machines and for way cheaper than weaving, just because of the speed it goes and the cheaper materials you can use to create knits. Because all of the threads are like looped together, knits have more stretch. So if you're looping across, the weft, the loops will have give that way, they'll stretch that way. Most knits are knitted across the weft. Jersey is a basic knit. Double jersey is like it's extra loops. It's different types. I'll get them later when I find my notes. You can also knit across the warp, so down the length of the fabric. That doesn't really give you stretch going that way, and you have to use specific machinery to do it because of the weird way it ties together. Like, I don't know if you can do it by hand. Maybe. It looks complicated, so I don't think you can just use needles. Something like a sports mesh, a sports jersey, that's what knitted on the warp, so that direction, that like a knit was really strong because the way it's tied together, high durability depending on your fibers and yarns. They have a lot of air inside them, so good for insulation like on a sweater, or for wicking away moisture like on sports materials. We played around with knit fabric, so it had a big roll of just like basic knit, and it was kind of old and crusty. But the point was that we're supposed to just play with it, put it on a mannequin, and try different techniques, because like you can pull at knit, you can manipulate it more because like it retracts, it can hug the body. So we made like this ugly castaway looking dude, and I was like, oh, how are we gonna justify this? We can be like, oh, Sorcerer Prospero, like as he washes up on the island before beginning his journey in the Tempest. I'm like, it's ugly. a lot of the other ones in class were a lot prettier, like beachwear and dresses and smocking, and I'm like, I don't know how to do all those things. I'm going to drape, and I'm going to pull, and I'm going to braid, and I'm just going to mess with this dude. So it was like a group activity. I don't know what this filter is, I just have a string of lights. Design class, we looked at further principles of design. You know, like you have the elements of design, like line and shape and color and space, that kind of stuff. Principles are more like the tool set or the mindsets and approaches you would use with those elements. So something like contrast. You can have contrasting color in a garment, or contrasting shapes, or you could have emphasis and have like a focal area, focal space, or you could have repetition and gradation in your lines. So we did a bunch of designs mixing different elements with different principles. So I did 6. I've still got to pick one and render it up, so that's probably a stream thing. And the CAD class was just kept on working on our previous collars and sleeves combinations. So I stayed back at the end of class, just so I could get a little bit of feedback from the teacher on my drawings so far, because she has so many students to look after. She really puts the time into like actually giving proper feedback and like draw overs and stuff, using like baking paper, like over the top of your drawing. She'll sketch out like, oh, this is something you could try here. So she really liked my stuff, so that was nice. She liked how I was like hashing out different concepts. So I just need to work on fabric folds, like realistic fabric folds, and being more aggressive with my coloring. Like I just kind of put in like shading with my color pencils, but you've got to like layer it up. I don't know if I have the right color pencils. They don't seem to blend or layer very well. So homework there is just keep working on the drawings, which is like, as always, what we're working on. So that'll be on stream probably, or not. You know, Psychonauts is coming out soon, so that's gonna be all I will be doing, is just streaming Psychonauts. I was thinking, because the first game is like super cheap right now, I could like just buy a bunch of copies. It's like $1.50 or something, and then like give them out to people that come to the stream or something. That might be fun. Like, it's not sponsored, but you know. I just want people to play Psychonauts. It's really fucking good. We're patterning out more skirts today, this time with pleats, and you know, like doing the maths required to add extra fabric to your pattern for folding in pleats, which is a lot. It's like, if you have like an inverted pleat, which it doesn't even add any body to the thing, it's just like, it's a hidden inverted pleat. It's like 16 centimeters extra fabric, like just for a small one. We had 2 on this design, so that adds up. I'm still getting really frustrated with the patterning class, and I know it's because of like how my brain understands and processes maths and drawings versus how the teacher is trying to give us like tips and methods to make things easier for us. Like, instead of just mathing out all the individual pattern pieces and like marking them up that way, like, oh, if you just fold this pattern piece that you already have, you'll know where the center line is, and you just mark that and then move it along and mark it along, which is like square blocking, which we learned about. But I'm like, my brain can't seem to apply these principles. I'm like, let me just do the math, or even better, just do the pattern digitally. Then it's like, it's all done, you know. But these are the skills we're trying to learn, so I'm just struggling with it a little bit, and I just get a bit frustrated. It's interesting learning, and it's stuff that I can apply outside of class, so yeah. Okay, I found my notes. Some more stuff on knits. You know how when we were looking at weaved fabrics, the warp going down the fabric and the weft going across the fabric, you know, like if you're pulling it out on a roll towards you. In knits, they're going down the wale or across the course, and they'll have like a distinctive pattern for like a normal knit on the front versus what it looks like on the back. So on the front, it'll have the wale direction when you're looking at a knitted jumper, and the pattern kind of goes down. If you flip the fabric and look on the back, it looks like the direction of the pattern goes across the course. We also learned about this website, WGSN, which I need to figure out how to get onto.
It's a forecasting company for trends in fashion, technology, consumer goods, essentially. So it's interesting to me to see like, okay, so how do they decide what is on trend? What are the emerging themes for seasons and stuff? Like, I just want to see what kind of data they have. There's obviously a lot of people, will design to trend, and I'm just like, what even is trend? Do I want to do that? I don't know. Knits also will have a gauge. You know, we were talking about thread count, like a higher thread count is more like wefts per warp essentially on like a fabric. The gauge is like how many needles per inch used in the weaving. So a higher gauge, so more needles per inch, is a finer knit, like a smaller pattern or like a texture essentially. This was a weird squiggle I was trying to talk about with the when you knit on the warp as opposed to like across on the weft, like on the course. And yeah, these are just the principles of design that I was talking about. And further to the color thing that I was talking about, like how the colors of light and there's colors of pigment, like they're different. So apparently, if you talk about light, it's called additive. So when you lay over your colors together in bands of light, it ends up being white because white is made of all of the colors. Whereas in pigment, it's subtractive. So when you keep add more and more pigment, you get closer and closer to black. So where in light, if you added red and green together, it would create yellow, but red and green in pigment would make brown. So I think some of the language crosses over between the light theories, but the color theories, but like that's how they differentiate. Yeah, just mostly more stuff on best practicing with designing. Make sure you trace your designs so you can kind of iterate on it. Anyway, still have homework. Instructions for the bag that we made. Yeah, I don't have a lot of like practical stuff to show. Oh, maybe the actual bag. Here's the bag. It's big. It's A3 sized. It has a pocket on the front and a pocket inside and like proper bottoms on it. It's made out of curtain fabric, so it's nice and sturdy and soft on the inside. Big enough to put my big folders and things in. So yeah, I actually made something out of this fabric I've had in a drawer for years. Yeah, I don't know what we're sewing next week, so I guess we'll just have to find out. Bye.